The regular meeting of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board. Are we recording, ladies and gentlemen, who are the IT queens and king of my planet? Thank you. Is it feeling good?
So we have Leslie there.
I do see Leslie.
Refer to the, and then you can refer it to your computer. Yeah. Refer to the speaker.
All right, moving forward. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
So this is the regular meeting of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any citizens to be heard? No? Awesome. I'd love to have everybody to go around the table and introduce themselves. My name's Lori McFarland. I'm the current chair of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board.
Wendell Williams, current vice chair of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board.
Howard Trenholm, board member, Moab Office of Tourism Advisory Board.
Ben Frederick, director of the Moab Office of Tourism.
Mackenzie Daniels, administrative assistant for Old Spanish Shiller.
Jason Taylor, Moab City Lead.
Cora Phillips, Chamber of Commerce Executive Director.
Ashley Kernblatt, board member and representing the chamber.
Steven Stocks, County Attorney.
Ryan Martinez, County Commissioner.
Alex Borshevsky, Board Member.
Allie Harford, Assistant Marketing Director at the Moab Office of Tourism.
Nick Saleta, Assistant Marketing Director.
Welcome.
We have Madden online, Leslie, Caitlin, and Bria of Madden Media.
Yay. Leslie, Caitlin, and Bria. Thank you. We probably will have Rebecca Monso joining remotely also, so we'll look for her when she pops in.
Then we also have Stephen Bowles.
Hi,
Stephen Bowles.
I'm sorry. Stephen Bowles with the finance world. Go ahead, Sharon, you can say hi too.
Sharon Kinsley, board member.
Awesome. All right. So does anybody have any conflicts of interest, disclosures, or ex parte communications that they would like to share?
I just have one, it's not even really a disclosure so much as the Leslie and group had dinner at Sunset Grill when they were in town. Unbeknownst to me, they showed up and I was like, I recognize your face. And from the big screen. And so, yeah, they came up to Sunset Grill the night before they met with everyone.
And my disclosure is after working with the Madden group, there was a window of opportunity in the morning where Leslie had some time and we invited her for a Hummer adventure up to Hell's Revenge, and she and Ben Frederick accepted the offer. There was no money exchanged. We just wanted to let everybody know that we offered that and they did accept.
I have one, so as part of the UOT office, co-op marketing program, any nonprofits that apply have to have a letter from the BMO, a letter of support. And so the Moab Music Festival, which I'm treasurer of, will be applying, so happy to help draft a letter, but it needs to be signed by either one of our assistant directors or someone on the MTAB board.
Vina joined and Rebecca joined.
Oh, welcome. If you want to introduce yourselves, Beta and Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Monso with Red Cliffs Lodge, board member.
I am Biga Metzner, the director of the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission.
Beautiful. All right. At this point, I would like to look forward to consideration of future agenda items, and then we'll go around the room and we're going to do just a 2-minute introduction for each person and tell us a little bit about if you want to in your week. So I would like to combine those two items and everybody has 2 minutes. And does that make sense? I'm getting a strange look.
What's the
Just what we've been up to the roads.
Well, just the same, we go around the room. A lot of the times we wait till the end of the meeting and then we go 6 months and don't hear from anyone because our meetings run so long despite my best efforts. But if today we start that in the beginning, I know Howard probably has some airport board reports and things like that. Or if there's something that you would like us to throw in a future agenda item, because it seems like email is harder, so then I can make notes. Go ahead.
Nothing really. It was a great Memorial Day. Things have slowed down considerably since, but yeah, it's summer, so here we are.
It's July and June. Just really for future consideration, I had the pleasure to run into the state park director at the wonderful Utah Raptor opening the other week, which I think should be something highly in our focus as a marketing board. It's brand new. And she would like to present to this board, really what Dead Horse Point contributes, visits, campers, and of course now with the new park there. And I think that would be valuable for the board to gain some insight into one of our important land agencies. That's it.
And nothing from the airport board. Nothing
Well,
from the airport.
really what I was trying to get to is number 14 on the agenda, so that was the contrary. I'll hold off till then. If I
Awesome.
may. New director, though, I will say that Stephen Gleason, I believe, who just took the position. That is important news, and he comes to us from Provo.
Wow.
So had quite a lot of experience, and I think a good hand and much needed position at the airport.
The new director.
Yeah. I asked him one question on when he, at the board meeting last week, how many employments they had up there. Just bear in mind, we had 14,000 last year. We dropped from 25,000. His airport had 314,000 payments. So he brings a wealth of experience. So I'm excited for the county to have him on board.
Second busiest airport in Utah. Second busiest airport in Utah, Provo. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, first of all, today's a big day. We moved the website from the old archive, Discover Moab, to new Simple View. Big hats off to our team. Ali and Mick have worked really hard, and especially Mick heading up the project and doing a lot of detail work that's thankless, and he probably knows every click spot on that website. And so just want to make sure that everyone knows that that's a really big milestone. That's been a little over a year in the making. Since the last meeting, we signed the contract with Madden and then had creative meetings, then an onboarding where they were in markets. Some of you were involved. Since then, we've had creative meetings with them, KBO data meetings and scoping meetings. And just want to give a shout out that Madden has really moved at a fast pace along with our team to get connected and going. Also onboarded our Camp Stories PR firm. Big credit to Ali for heading that up, getting them selected and acquired and that contract signed. We've had 2 meetings so far. I'm actually very excited about what they bring to the table. I think there's great traction there. Thank you to you guys. In the last meeting, we had a minimal plan to go with the Utah Office of Tourism International opt-in plan. And after working with Madden and getting some feedback from some members on this board, as well as working with Commissioner Winfield, we decided to go all in and take advantage of full portfolio minus the ITB piece. UOT co-op marketing grant, we have that in process. I've been working on that. All the small details, the requirements are pretty much done. We're now working with Madden to put in the strategy and the tactics. And then next week, Ali and I will be at IPW with several of the others. Will be part of the Sun Parks Mighty 5 contingent there with the tops of tourism. That's my report.
Should I give one for the arena?
No.
Okay. Oh, it's good. Thanks.
Busy, still busy. The MIC did a special lecture last night, but along with the museum. We brought in, there was, well, almost 100 people in the MIC for that lecture last night, so
That's
it
good.
was was really
It's a
nice.
good turnout. Museum's doing really well.
So, yeah, there will probably be more.
Collaboration.
With the museum. So other than that, busy, just trying to keep the parks running as best we can.
Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
How's the parking out front?
Where?
The parking,
In.
the new bus parking.
Oh, the new bus parking is amazing. Yeah, it's really nice when there's two buses there. Buses fit perfect. Nobody has been parking there if they're not a bus, so it's.
Really, that was my biggest question.
Yep, yeah,
Awesome,
we haven't seen anyone parking there other than buses. It's been great.
wonderful.
What's that? Just needs a little tree trimming.
Yeah, and that's going to happen. In fact, there's a couple tree, for sure, one tree they'll probably be taking out because it's buckling all the sidewalk. So when they go to do the new sidewalk, they'll probably just take that tree out. So, and trim up the other ones, so,
Yay, good news, all good news.
yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, the city, we are working on our budget. Tonight, hopefully we'll approve our budget for next year. With that, I will say that something I really pushed hard for was, money for sidewalks. And so the first place that we're gonna try to replace sidewalks is in front of the Nick, and kind of get rid of all the crack and broken sidewalk stuff and kind of trying to get on that downtown corridor and work our way out, to get a lot of sidewalks fixed there. We had an opportunity to host, the last week or a week and a half ago, to host, Dr. Kennedy and his staff. We were able to spend a couple hours, with congressman and show him his staff all around town. We had this entourage of like 3 Suburbans going around showing people like the flooding and the areas we needed to work on. We're trying to acquire some funds to help with funding to replace some bridges in town. And one of the things that everybody kind of gets is that is what Moab is and how iconic Moab is, the name of it, and how they understand that that Utah is Moab's a big part of the Utah brand. And so good meeting with them to talk about our issues and stuff like that. So it's really good. And that's all I have.
Awesome, Ashley.
From the chamber, we're doing this Celebrate Moab, that advertising grant that we did that is matching people to the places and generating, we're working to generate itineraries for people when they give us a little information about them. And so we're learning a lot from that we'll share with this group as it evolves. The OHB initiative, we have 4 different grant applications that we've been invited to apply for, so exciting, coming more news on that as it gets going. Love the Madden presentation, Lori, read the whole thing.
I knew you would.
It's very good. It's a really great start, and it's got a lot of potential. I think when you ask yourself, why was Mighty 5 so successful? It showed you, the visitor, in the landscape. You're walking on water, you're riding on the moon, you're doing these things. And so I think, like Howard was saying, with the new park coming on, the more we connect the message to the actual places, what and things that you can do here, it's gonna be more powerful. So I think they're positioning to do that, and I think we're gonna have new rec assets coming online here every quarter. Really, and we need to have, as part of the strategy, making sure we're celebrating those things, new trails, the mud flats thing, the state park, other things as they come along. So I think that's really important. And there's been some questions from chamber members about what is going on with TRT. And what is the new marketing strategy? So no rush, but when you're ready, we would love to have a chamber meeting where those things get presented. Like, here's what we've sorted out with TRT in terms of open to buy, what we can really spend, and what we're projecting to be able to spend, like really spell that out. I think that would go a long way towards just showing people what's going on. And also, what is our strategy? And so as that evolves, maybe in early September, late August, or whenever y'all are ready, we'd love to host that because we really want the businesses to get the info from you. See,
Brian,
I'll just go ahead and let Alex go. Got a big meeting tonight.
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I agree with Wendell, that businesses as far as restaurants is like, yeah, it's really good through Memorial Day. Probably our biggest day, I think, was the Sunday before Memorial Day. Yeah, huge day. And I think that also helped with the Arts Fest. So we were also at the Arts Fest, so maybe it doubled a little bit, sending some folks from over there. And then, yeah, it's really dropped off after Memorial Day, which we were expecting. So you're just trying to trim labor and, you know, get people all on board to understand that things slow down and you know, it's time to just tighten up a little bit and take a nap. And maybe be on fire. But anyway, and I would say 98 centers we're up from last year,
Nice.
which is good. I think that's due to we have a parklet outside. So outside seating was huge. I think that contributed to that. And sushi is about flat, so Sabaku is about the same. But you know, the business there is still great. Although all the customers, returning customers are still, everybody's super excited about being there and eating there. So that's always good. And that's about all I have for now. I'm looking forward to a couple more months of steady business, and we have a little break in August. Our summer break is in August, and looking forward to a strong fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I am headed to, if all goes well, to IPW in Chicago next week, and I would be super curious to hear about what is being presented from our side. I know we talked about that a little bit, just so I can be on board with supporting the county. Sometimes it helps to open the door to just chat about life in Grand County as opposed to just drilling down on one business. So that would be helpful. Other than that, we have so much on our agenda today. I'm going to try really hard. Don't laugh at me. I burn everything in my house. Without this, it will go back to my house. But I'm going to try really hard to honor your time and get us out by 5. Okay. Let's see. So I would like to have a motion. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from May 13th from the MTAB meeting? I was able to look over them. It was also inclusive of the workshop. Does everybody see their name on there if they were there? If not, I tried to look at attendance. It looked good to me.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th, MTAB meeting.
A second.
Thank you. Second by Sharon.
Wasn't Rebecca remotely attending last month's meeting?
Yes, yes, but in the workshop, she didn't. Rebecca, you weren't.
I wasn't at the workshop, no, but I was at the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So do we need to amend those minutes? I thought I saw Rebecca in
You're right.
the regular meeting, but not in the workshop. We good?
Got it, yeah.
All those who vote to approve the minutes, say aye. Unanimous. We have on here, thank you, Wendell, Dana, Ally, all of those who put together the copy of the agenda. We worked hard on getting it done early and I was out of town. Thank you for taking over. There was to be some sort of discussion and consideration of future minute taking. Is that still an item that we need to discuss?
Nope, we may directed that it is staff that does it.
Okay, awesome. And let's go to item number 4. Hi, Madden, how are you?
Good. Sorry, I'm getting my text to work. Yeah, we're doing really well and staying very, very busy, getting ready to move forward on a lot of different things.
Yay. I'm hoping that because I get involved and I forget to ask, if you guys, after we finish your presentation, if you could stick around for item number 5 also, just so that we can include you in the discussion about county fair.
Perfect.
Awesome. And pivoting from here, are you taking over? Are we taking over? Are you taking over here with Madden, or are we going forward?
No, I think that this is their opportunity to present kind of where we are and what's happening. I do appreciate you know, I wasn't able to attend all the meetings, but what I did attend and what we all sat around. It seems like you took the brief and ran with it and took everything we said to heart and really kind of captured some of what we wanted. So I really appreciate the work you've done. And I think at this stage, we do have the media plan as part of that. They've been sent through to us. Instead of, you know, doing a granular look at everything, just kind of a high level approach, and then we can to get everybody a sense of where you are and, you know, what timelines look like, and we can go from there. But yeah, I mean, so far I'm just really, yeah, it was great to meet you guys, and you've kind of captured everything we wanted in those meetings. So good to hear.
And I want to piggyback on how excited I am. But I mean, I even like ran into Ashley in the parking lot last night. I did not hurt her. I did not, but said, you gotta go look at this. We just attached this. We're hopeful and excited. Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll expand a little bit before we dive into where we are, just if that status. I know that Ben was able to give a little bit of an update, but wanted to kind of break that out a little bit more. So again, appreciate the time everyone spent with us with our fam trip at the end of May. During that time, we were really able to have an intense strategy day, a lot of big thinking during that time. Again, appreciate everyone who was able to be involved in that. So really during that time, it was focused on a SWOT analysis, as well as just understanding previous campaigns, trying to dive further into the character and attractions and all the things that make Moab a great place to visit, but also a place that you guys are also very passionate about. So from there, we really take the time to establish, just as you saw in our response, what are those key business objectives? So obviously we know that marketing is very important, but we know that you have things that you need to accomplish from a DMO and from an organizational standpoint. So that's really where we put that down into, okay, what are the objectives that we need to accomplish? And how do we hold ourselves accountable to that? So that's really where we further break that down into those key performance indicators. So of course, you'll see that attached, but that's really our jumping off point, I would say, to then determine how are we going to handle creative? How are we going to handle our targeting, our media plan? So that, while that can be a little bit time consuming, it's a really important step in what we're able to do. So of course, we'll kind of look at that at a high level. So that's really what we've done from that really account strategic level. And then when it comes to media, like the team said, we've been supporting on what those international opportunities are, making sure that we're thinking about that, how that works in consort with what we want to do from a media plan. And then we've been working on the detailed recommendations that come around with the co-op. From a creative standpoint, we're really moving forward with a lot of the great work that Ali and the team have done in between the previous work that Love had done, as well as the direction we want to take, because we know we need to move quickly. So we're moving forward with a lot of that conversational piece to get some of our initial ads launched once those are approved. But at the same time, our team has been working in collaboration with the MOT team, so that we're able to collectively determine what is that direction that we want to go from a creative standpoint. We know you have the brand RFP out, so we want to make sure that we're evolving where you are, but we're not completely reinventing the wheel, knowing that you guys are going through a lot of the work to establish that. So a little bit different from what we do sometimes. We really were able to do that collaboratively with your team. And so with that, our goal is to come back to this board with the direction of what that campaign look and feel will be once we're to that evolved state. And then from a data standpoint, know that there's a lot of information you guys get from Symphony, a lot of information you get across the board. So it's really our goal to understand, are there any gaps within that information, as well as what is the story we're trying to tell and what is the most important information for us to garner. So for example, we'll be setting up dashboards that are in service of those KVOs, showing what those KPIs are, but also making sure that we're bringing in any other information right at our fingertips to be able to make any adjustments or changes needed. So that's a little bit what we've been doing kind of behind the scenes. And then from this KVO standpoint, you can see that we've really, based on our discovery and based on our learnings with you, we've really boiled everything down to these 4 main areas of effort. And so that is making sure that we're successfully evolving the brand perception to be more diverse, authentic, welcoming, and story-driven. We know that that welcoming piece is really important. We also know that how people are consuming information is very different. So we want to think about what are those stories we're going to tell in order to be able to get closer and get to the point where we are really making an impact on length of stay. We need to think about what those stories are that are going to build a more robust itinerary and allow people to stay longer, spend money, and make sure that we're connecting that information with an audience that is also going to spend more money. So within that, we're going to continue to focus on making Moab a year-round destination. So thinking about how we're handling those shoulder and off-season areas, and then continuing to optimize and adjust within the data that we're looking at. So that's really a very quick piece of what we're doing right now. I know there's a lot packed into that. We've done a lot within the last month and a half, but are very excited to be at this junction where we can dive further into that media plan, get some feedback, and really want to get in that place where we can get some of that media launched and start driving visitation. So I'll let Caitlin talk a little bit kind of high level about that media plan, but knowing that you guys are going to have some questions as far as what's in that, what's included, what does that need to look like?
Yeah, so starting with our audience, definitely want to identify each individual audience. So we have it broken down into approachable luxury traveler, which is the upscale travel experience. Oh, good. I didn't know if I was supposed to share screen or not. The soft adventure seeker, so not as extreme or it is adventurous, but still a well-rounded traveler, and activity planners. So we know that the families and friends always plan travel, the empty nesters, so kind of targeting that older demographic, and arts enthusiasts and photography. So those are kind of our key target audience to start with and what we've kind of identified. And then moving into our markets, we will have it broken out into Drive, which is Denver, Salt Lake City, and Phoenix. Fly, which will include New York, Texas, Arizona, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and DC. And a new emerging market that we would like to test is Dallas, Fort Worth, because we know that the fly markets, and we can see that the traffic inside Google Analytics really showcase that, along with that, national presence. So we know that, we don't want to scale down on Expedia when they know we're conquesting specific areas. So if people are on our Expedia or VRBO, they are searching Moab, and we capture them in that travel space. Moving into specific pillars, I want to first bucket this into the awareness. This is really building that brand visibility and creating that strong strategic layering to know where Moab is within those destinations, within the markets that we are targeting. So we have paid social, that's Meta, Pinterest, Reddit, programmatic, which will include Google PMax, which is that ecosystem of Google. So we are not scaled to just SEM. We do have SEM on the plan, but those are keyword specifics and a little bit further down the funnel. Azera banners, where we can really mobile ID target the specific conquesting areas. So if it's national parks or if it's specific geofences that we're running, digital out of home, really being strategic when our placements are being met there. Digital out of home, I did have a call with them. I want to be very strategic on where we place our digital out of home. We had a really great takeover recently in Colorado. So placing some digital out of home in key markets, and then connected TV to create that awareness, inspiration, aspirational feel. And then moving a little bit further down the funnel into consideration, we will really focus on remarketing. So that's meta remarketing, that's meta lead gen ads, Google SEM. So we're really focusing on keyword specific. We'll be able to create Azera retargeting banners here. And so what we really want to create is different messaging for this bucket, and really create a welcoming message to say, hey, we know that you were in the first bucket and we want to bring you in a little bit further. So those are kind of our consideration buckets, along with, some branded content to get that story and storytelling really out in that, audience, with curated stories with outside gear, all gears, all trails, those kinds of tactics. And then moving into conversions, which is our, final bucket, final stage here. We know that Epsilon, Adara, Sojourn, those are really impressive, vendors that give us that really strong NEI report, which is a net economic impact report. So we can see where people are going and where people are spending the money and where people are staying in the destination. So it's really important to have those along with the OTAs. So Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking, Priceline, and Hopper, really honing in on that travel ready audiences, knowing that we get that strong reporting attribution afterwards. So we know where people are spending the money. And then our co-op media recommendation here, we know that we're going to be spending, money out of market focus. So growing that awareness, continuing to grow that awareness, drive bookings, and from the strong platforms like Expedia, Travelzoo, Adara, Sojourn, and then continue to promote extended off-peak itineraries. And then we'll also have some in-marketing focus to really just reinforce the brand inside the state, and then continue to boost mid-week and seasonal getaways. And here is a very large media plan. And so I have broken this out into seasons. So here you can see that we would start mid-June and go through August with our seasonal message of summer. And then we move into fall, September and October, and then winter, November and December. And you can see that I have the media stronger in summer because we really want to push that summer travel. I know we're, need to get out there right away to get that summer push. So that's kind of where a lot of our money is kind of allocated, and then falling into fall, continuing that support in fall, and then winter being a little bit lighter, but still keeping the lights on here. And then you can see I have it broken down into performance-driven tactics, which that will create that SEM, YouTube, Performance Max, really strong engagement, travel endemic tactics here. So we have the Expedias, the Tikis, the TripAdvisors, Epsilon, and then the strategic investments, which are going to be more of the content-based, high-impact ad units that we can really get some curated numbers when it comes time to using other people's audiences.
So yes, no, that was a lot of information, hopefully a lot of great information as far as what we've been working on and really those opportunities for media and placement moving forward. So definitely want to open that up to you have any questions or feedback that you all have to make sure that we are, set to go and make sure that this feels like it's accomplishing what we need to.
I want to do the best thing. So great job, you guys. Thank you so much for doing it all. I've seen communities work on this question about bigger spenders. I've seen communities get sort of trapped in that, trying to figure out who the biggest spenders are and then trying to spend more on them. I think really our opportunity is to get every target, every audience to spend more. And one idea that came up that I didn't mention at the chamber was our events. Like, one of our problems is campers and Airbnbers don't come into town enough to spend money, like that segment, but they're a really important part of our segment. So we don't want to not invite them. We want to keep inviting them, but we want them to spend more. And one way is to get them to come into town for events. And so at the chamber meeting, they were talking about, we should have some kind of banner that goes across Main Street somewhere that's like uniform, and each group, the rodeo, every single event would have a banner that goes up for that to remind people. Just, we need to think about tricks, ways to get each category to spend more instead of freaking out too much or spending too much energy trying to figure out who's spending the most. But other than that, I think it's really great.
Awesome. Keep going, Leslie. Oh,
just on the banner thing, I think that's a UDOT question.
I know it is, but
I was just in Aspen and they do this. That's a good idea. But I don't know that it's technically possible.
Yeah.
So I was on Main Street a couple days ago, and right by the Moab garage, there's 2 poles with a really high, with a wire going across that I think used to have banners on. So
we just look at it, but it's mainly an idea for how to get those people who don't always come into town to spend money to come in. Instead of just sitting around the campfire, come spend money at the festival.
Go ahead, Leslie. Oh, sorry, Howard, go ahead, sorry.
Just as far as the fly market goes, I mean, I really think we have a 60 per day capacity on our 2 flights a day. I think, you know, bringing in regional airports into the equation that do have direct flights, particularly Dallas, Fort Worth and Grand Junction, Montrose, Salt Lake City and Durango, because they can bring flights in. There's car rental places there, and that's a good way for people to access here. So by limiting ourselves to our 2 flights a day, that's going to get you a maximum of 60 people per day into town, where if you help work with our regional partners, it will drive more people in that mode.
There's a event in right now, not even a real event, it's just a corporate event. Milestar Tires is bringing in 40 people a day over, so basically 220 people, 40 people each day, every 3 days. And they are all flying into Grand Junction because they couldn't fit them into our airport. So there's 220 people coming in, they're all coming into Grand Junction for the first week of June.
It's certainly promote longer stays if people are gonna, you know, rent a car. You know, they're gonna build their itinerary a little bit more too.
I would also just add here, of course, we talk a lot about where we're spending the money, who we're connecting with, who that audience is, but it's also really important for us to continue to talk about where we're sending them on the website. So a perfect example when you're talking about the airlines, right? We want to make sure that they're interested, that they're engaged, that we're differentiating Moab, but that we're also sending them the right place. Once they are in more of a, okay, I'm going to book, I'm in further down this planning cycle. How do I get there? Where do I go? Where are my closest connections? And so that's a really important piece of this too, is not just where we're placing the ads, but where we're sending them on the site to provide more information.
Go ahead, Brian.
Is there an opportunity to maybe partner with Grand Junction on an itinerary?
Yes, or Durango, if you really want.
I mean, if that's the way I was looking at it, I would look at talking to their DMO and finding out, hey, you know, you guys are gonna get car rentals out of this, you're gonna get, you know, people staying in at the airport, you're probably gonna get a night in and maybe even get a night out. Plus you also will get the leverage of using the Moab name, right? Which would be big for them.
Moab Express does offer a shuttle service to the airport now, so they have a business that way.
To the Grand Junction Airport.
We could definitely try that. And also to the Grand Circle too.
We'll put in a really nice bet.
We'd rather people fly to Durango, go to Mesa Verde, and then come to Arches and Canyonlands instead of going to Vegas. Something like that.
Durango's a good idea too, when the flights can get in and out. Anybody else?
We want to make sure that we're seeing data on. I'm so sorry if I interrupted someone, I can kind of hear you, but is making sure that we also understand what are all those entry points where people are coming in. So who is coming into you know, Grand Junction and then comes into Moab. And so we want to make sure we're thinking about those points of interest as well with some of that visitation intelligence to understand who shows up here, who comes here, just so again we have more information to know where people are being fed from.
A very common question that we get is, where do I fly to get to Moab? So if we can focus part of our campaign of awareness, you know, like flying, I'm literally paying double to fly out of Moab, but I looked at Midway Airport and things like that, just because I used to be an airline hag, so I knew different airports to search, but a lot of people just do not have an awareness that Durango even has an airport. So if we can heighten some of that and do that itinerary packaging, just thoughts for Madden. Thanks. Go ahead, Howard.
No, I think
Me.
Oh, sorry. Well, and then, okay.
Just a question on target audiences. I was just trying to think of wedding folks and people getting married, and I'm just wondering where, I guess, those folks might fit into these different types of audiences that you've created, or is it a whole other different audience? We talked recently about that being a very big deal, is trying to attract
bigger.
Yeah,
It's turning into a bigger.
yeah, it seems to me like, yeah, with a couple of new venues, and we've got lots of services for weddings now.
In the New York Times this last weekend, there was an article that featured the picture of the article was at Arches, people getting married in front of the at Arches, and that was the feature picture. It was talking about getting married in national parks. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, you know, where where that marketing might fit into these target audiences.
Yeah,
Would
I
that-
an opportunity when we look at some of those, like you said, some of those niche audiences and how do we connect there? Definitely for us, knowing that there is a big we want to hit with that 6% increase. And so we are trying to think about what are the things that feel like something we need to do immediately, but then also what are those things that we can start to think about that feel like maybe a little bit more of a long-term goal. I think this would be a really good follow-up conversation for all of us to understand where that priority sits. And if that's something we want to hop on now, obviously always something that we can adjust to based on what those priorities are.
20 minutes. Do you want to have a comment, Wendell?
Just two more
Go ahead.
things, I'll be quick. I really believe the senior market is massive. Because they can travel all year, they don't have, empty nesters builds into that, so that's one thing, but I also would like for us to, stop being so focused on the FIT traveler. There's a huge market out there for business travel, small groups, incentive-based, rewards programs for companies. And that's kind of going in a conjecture that other resort towns do to fill in the gaps. They can bring groups here at different times of the year. And I really do think there's a big opportunity there to develop that market too. And I know it's not something we've really focused on, that in the senior market, because there's value there for sure.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, why, because I know that Ben wants to get feedback on this media plan so we can get it approved so they can start spending. If you want to have everybody maybe email any other comments and then we can, as the group meet and
Excellent. So Leslie, just to let you know, we budgeted 15 minutes and we're at 24 because we want to hear what you have to say, but we're going to likely, continue this conversation with the subcommittee, and everybody has a link to this online. They can drill down, and please offer email and we can forward them on however you want to do it. If you want to send them to me or CC me at least, if you want to, it's better if it comes to me or Wendell, and then we'll forward it to Ben.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome.
I'm just following up on Wendell's comment. Do timing for getting this started.
now,
Right.
like now.
So I'm wondering if the board wants to make a motion to approve the media plan as presented.
No, I think we're gonna have the subcommittee drill into it because we don't have time to go into the next 20
Now, as in like
pages.
this week.
Well,
Because
we're not gonna be able to vote on it until August.
Could I maybe make a recommendation that you guys make a motion to approve the media plan under the consideration that your subcommittee would go ahead and have the opportunity to see if there's anything that was misstated?
If somebody wants to make that motion.
That way
I'm
we have
happy
the
to do it.
opportunity to,
Okay,
that way we have the opportunity to start spending, we can get this in front of the commission as quick as possible.
okay.
And then we can start getting the odds out.
If somebody wants to make a motion, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the spend for media, Madden Media. Subject to further, subcommittee, decisions.
I'll second. I can't really tell from the chart about the timing, so sorry, question. I think, travel decisions range. Some people decide to go and leave 2 weeks, some people it's 6 months or a year, so just being aware of how, if you're focused on the summer, I know we're starting flat-footed right now, but not really, we've got some stuff going on, but anyway, really spreading out, like, so you're catching those 6-month planner headers and those last minute people. That's just one piece to keep thinking about.
Awesome. We have a motion from Howard, second by Ashley. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the media plan with the drill down of the executive committee, yada, yada. Vote. Aye. All those in favor, aye, it's unanimous.
And if Matt wants to stick around for a minute.
It's like, yay.
All right, and the next item coming up is the discussion and potential approval of county fair promotional use of TRT. As I have said, this is a new adventure for me in our company, working with marketing companies, but we are spending our resource at High Point to promote Grand County because Grand County is not promoting the fair, and since I've lived here for 30 years, we've had the most spectacular fireworks. And I tell people all the time, oh, it's a really fun little place to come have dinner, maybe make a blanket on the baseball field and watch what's going on and yada, yada. And people just don't really know. So I went today, again, having this conversation, trying to book somebody for the Independence Day, and went to Discover Moab, and it says, yes, the county fair is the 3rd for the 5th, but there was no access to any information about what was going on, what day, what activities. And I feel that Madden can be a huge help for us here in promoting this as a way to draw people in from other places if we will just seize that opportunity, and hoping that we can have a discussion about this.
Yeah, so anyways, I asked Lori if she would add this onto the agenda. We had this came up during the last commission meeting, whether the fair kind of fell under the TRT, the Rec Film and Convention. And I'm not actually sure if it falls under the Rec Film and Convention or if it's listed, Stephen, under the promotional spend. Which would be a question that we'd want to ask. I think either way, it kind of fits in there. But I think that the main question, and why I asked Mackenzie to come, is maybe present a little bit about the fair. And I think my main question for you is the intent of the fair to bring people into Grand County?
Yes.
Yay.
I think if anybody has attended a county or state fair, they know there's a healthy mix of locals and visitors that attend these things. You didn't see a lot on Discover Moab because it's not pushed really through Discover Moab, it's pushed through the arena. So if you Googled Grand County, Utah County Fair, it's gonna come up, on the arenas page, because the arena staff is really spearheading all of this. So that's where a lot of the information and activity comes through, is through our page and our efforts. I did print, because I was just briefed very quickly, because we are in pure chaos and our 2 leaders left on much needed and required PTO, but I got a very brief directive of what information to bring. So that is the only metric we really have right now to measure what audiences we're reaching, because that's the only platform we really reach through aside from our county page. Regionally, we're reaching mostly Moab because of the events based out of our facility, but we're going all the way to Grand Junction, Blanding, LaSalle, Monticello. Obviously because residents from there are using our area as well. We also have an international audience. We're reaching Canada, France, Mexico, and India based on the demographics. You can see that here. And then I pulled the potential, like and this is very little, I have no business marketing or advertising. That is not my background.
Doing a
But
great job.
I printed out the potential that Meta says we have if we actually put effort into it. I also printed out stories and pictures to give you for tourism based, not just residential based. So this is a national headliner called Neon Union that we hired last year for music entertainment. They have a big national following. One of the comments from an out of towner was, geez, I wish I knew you were coming to Moab because I would have been there. We didn't push the information as big as we could because it's just a staff of 6 doing what we're doing right now. But there was a show of loss of potential there for somebody out of town that would have followed them. We did have some people that came in, but the audience could have been bigger. This is another guy, the Sean Moon Band. They're based out of Grand Junction. This picture shows a huge crowd of 50 that followed them. They came on a school bus. They also brought with them Moose Country Radio from out of Grand Junction, uninvited. These people just followed this band, the Sean Moon Band. And this is last year's county fair. This is a picture of National Trails tour bus and a Cruise Moab RV that stopped at our rodeo last year. And this is just based on the advertising we've done through social and our county page. So we're drawing a crowd unintentionally, yet kind of intentionally, because we're pushing the information and we're wanting people to come experience this event. These 2 little cuties won the toddler eating contest last year, and their dad participated as well in the adult eating contest. He unfortunately did not win, but their parents thanked us profusely for the experience. They were on vacation, saw that we were holding the eating contest at the county fair activities and decided to attend. Another example is this lady from Italy requesting information on the eating contest specifically because it is quote unquote so American. This lady, she wasn't directly connected. They were planning, as Ashley has said, planning their trip around events at the arena, saw that we do line dancing. She's from France, inquired specifically about line dancing, which we do host at the county fair. And then I also printed for anybody who wants to read, I wrote an editorial and a big article about the importance of county fairs, how they bring together regional and local culture. They were published last year. I printed the articles if anybody wants to read them. And I printed out everything that was published last year for the county fair.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just have quick recommendations. You know, I'm watching online over here and it's your media agencies like, ooh, look at all this content right here.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is already generated. Would there be a possibility to have the Moab Office of Tourism help out with the Spanish Trail Arena to help promote this event? Ben, with your office, or you?
Yeah, I think we would be asking you guys to do it, like, so I think.
And I think that's
we
the
would
point
need a
of
board to
having everybody here is to see that, you know, I think that the advertising should be being driven through the Moab Office of Tourism. And I think that we can then actually make sure that we are promoting this event to grab people from the outside and to establish this event, right, to make it bigger and to really make this a part of our community.
I would entertain a motion to move forward with having the Moab Office of Tourism be involved in promoting this event based on the, I mean, once we establish that, yes, it's legitimate legal weight use of money, we're clearly
And I think so.
talking to
I did
people
just
from
pull this up.
outside.
Yeah, I pulled this up just while we were kind of talking, right? So here's subject 2 of the current TRT law right here. It says, subject to the requirements of this section, county legislative body may impose the transient room tax for the purpose of A, establishing and promoting. So I think that this meets both the establishing and promoting clause right there, as long as we promote it, right? Tourism, and then they have tourism defined right here. Tourism means an activity to develop, encourage, solicit, or market tourism that attracts transient guests to the county, including planning, development, and advertising for the purpose described in section 2A1. I think that this fits right inside of there, but I would leave it to this board to make that motion.
I would entertain a motion and then we can have discussion. We're over our little time limit, so can we do that with the discussion?
Yes. I make the motion
Tell me what motion you're making so I can write down.
to help, or for the Moab Office of Tourism. Is that where we are now?
Yes.
Because it
Yes.
says different
Yes.
things in different.
Yes, you're doing great. Hey, I wrote it on your thing, Moab Tourism Advisory Board.
Yeah, that. For us to, use some of our funds to promote the
Grand County.
Grand County Fair.
Awesome. Is there a second? Thank you, Alice. And now we can have any further discussion?
Really quick.
Yeah.
We have a lot of really important events that come to Moab that bring people that would fit under that category. Now, the difference in this one is it's at a county facility. And so we might need, we don't have to decide today, but we need to think about like. The events are one of the keys to getting more people to spend more money in town because they come in town for the event. So the folk festival, outer bike, whatever it is, sorry,
We already spend money on those.
no, well, we don't advertise the outer bike, we don't advertise, I mean, we have given money to the folk festival through different ways, but. So I don't know, we might just need to think about how we can be consistent and figure out like, is this just for events that are using county facilities that have some relationship with the county, or are there other events? And that could also like, it's just such a great opportunity to hook up the advertising and the content at these different times to promote these different events. So maybe we want to cast a
And this-
broader net.
Yeah, and this event right here was actually recommended by this board right here. So this board actually recommended $100,000 to go to the county fair.
And I've got a note.
Yeah.
That I might even want, I know we don't have time for a million workshops, but if we,
To support, make it happen.
but perhaps what we can do is look
Establish-
at those events and kind of determine which ones of those
Well,
Or
it's a big
falling-
question. If we're gonna
Right.
market private company events, that's a big deal.
Right.
And we need to make sure we're consistent and fair and whatever. And so maybe the answer is no, because this is a county event. I'm not sure, but it just is a question that we need to at least.
And I have that under the consideration of future agenda items written down. All right, we got 2 more comments.
Do we have a budget for this? Just to kind of have a number for what they're gonna use for this?
It's actually in your budget.
Not in our, it's in that site, but it's not our budget, so that's it. Someone else needs to determine that. Right, Brian?
The promotion amount that we.
The county fair, not line item.
Yeah, the county fair was, I believe it was $100,000. That was.
For the whole fair though,
For the
that is
fair.
the whole fair.
And then what do you
That
guys
is
have?
operations and.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
It all falls under, it all falls under the established portion.
Right.
What of that do you guys have set aside for your marketing?
I don't have that number unfortunately, I'm sorry. It's very minimal because we do, the only thing we're paying for is print and radio, which can be expensive. But that's what we're paying.
Do we have somebody that would make a proposal?
It's $10,000. It's a number
Right,
that works.
I would ask Matt or ask Ben.
So a question, this might be for Steven. This passes, is this something that needs to then be taken to the commission or approval? To be able to do this? Right, Brandon. Okay, so that, I mean. We can figure that the other stuff seems like just stuff to be figured out. If this is the motion, we should go. Find out if the commission supports doing this, and then we can go work out the math underneath.
And Madden, could you possibly like look at some numbers with us so that we can make a motion to move forward with having you help us with some promotion? Is that in your bandwidth? Are we just continually asking too much? What are your thoughts?
Well, we love you asking us things, so that don't ever feel like we can't do that. So I think what'll be good for us is to regroup very quickly and honestly just understand the audience size that we'll be connecting with. So it sounds like, right, so we're talking about the 4th, that's less than a month away. So we'll want to balance that budget, make sure we're not spending too much if our audience isn't that big. So give us a little bit, and I think Caitlin and her team can dig into that a little bit more.
And since we won't have a meeting in July, we're gonna have to put some trust in the Moab Office of Tourism moving forward with some of that promotional. If we make the motion, go ahead, Stephen.
And just a piece of information for everybody, any of the marketing that can be done through the Moab Office of Tourism is going to be more defensible on projects. If we have things that we are advertising in that office, that we're expending funds or TRT funds, if we have that with a marketing plan or some sort of connection with that, like be it a county fair or be it certain programming or whatever it may be, it's going to be stronger if it's supplemented with a marketing plan and advertising.
Great.
Meaning if it meets the marketing plan's goals, if the event meets the marketing plan's goals. Is that what you mean?
No, well, if we're looking at promotion,
Yeah.
I mean, establish a promote. We're looking at promotion generally.
Right.
Now, if we're looking at that second portion of the question, that's post, and I don't want to take up too much time. That's post July 1st, we have a different set of rules that apply to them. But if we're looking at making it more defensible, that's what we're looking at, is we're looking at expenditure and help promote, and that's one of the key elements of it. And we have a marketing team, you know.
And we might need some help if we pay all of our bills before the 1st of July. Is that helpful? You know,
Well,
those
and
minutia.
yeah, one other note on that, you're gonna wait 2 months before you can collect the tax receipts.
I just have a clarifying thing. Is this for this year or or future years? Because if it's for future years, we could actually do this discussion later in the year.
This is for in 1 month.
Because then there's no, because people were talking about August. This
Yes,
needs to
do
be
it.
done right now, today, and the plan needs to be done today.
Correct. So what we're gonna do is make a motion to approve Moab Office of Tourism moving forward with promotional plan to improve the
Yeah,
county.
and that motion's on the table and it's been seconded.
It has been seconded. Okay, we got 1 minute for Mick.
Just quickly, I think, we can post events like Adam Culver coming,
Yeah.
line dancing, that sounds great. We can post that to Discover Moab right now. We can tell our PR office this is happening, they can feed it into press stuff. So there's stuff we're doing that we'll just start talking about that I don't think has a dollar amount that needs to be attributed to it. I mean, we'll absolutely start doing that. So I wanted to add that into the conversation.
And if I can find it in a place that's, give me a second here, Ashley. If we can do that in a place that's not just the Grand County Fair, because in my understanding, this office is designed to promote Grand County. If we start subbing that out to other places, we're splintering our efforts and it's less defensible. So how about we just focus on getting this office able to promote that and giving them the support that they need financially, emotionally, physically, whatever it is. Ben, you have a comment?
No, with it being August, I was gonna say is, this is something we should look for next year is adding as a piece of the co-op grant.
You know, actually, just real quick, I know that on here, what number is it? It was like number. I don't know,
Okay, then we can add that.
no. They're good.
25.
Number 25, I don't know, there is something on the agenda already for this, right here, number 10. Right, has to do with that application, and that's something we can talk about right there in number 10. Right, is a spot for events to come in and apply for that, and we can figure that out later.
Thank you.
We need the emotional support.
We can connect with Madden too, and we'll talk about the headliner, and they want to put together an ad to get people to come to see this band. We'll do that.
PR, we have a lot of their PR stuff already.
I'm gonna call for a vote to move forward with approving Moab Office of Tourism and Madden helping with the Grand County Fair using promotional TRT money, if that is legal, based on legal opinion.
And the amount.
Those
is gonna-
in favor, say aye. We're gonna let MOT bring that to the executive committee. Moving forward, all in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna try to keep us on 6 minutes per item. Leslie and crew, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, item number 6. Go ahead. Okay, discussing data for,
So, yeah, Madden, we don't, you're dismissed.
Or you can stay on here.
They want to stay on for.
Stay on.
Yeah.
okay, you're welcome to stay for as long as you want. You're invited to our party. Item number 6, discuss data. MTAB County Commission is requesting the Moab Office of Tourism to use a measurement for the 6% target growth. We've been trying to massage this to find a good measurement metrics. Is that something that you want to handle? Or do you want me to move forward with it?
Yeah, go right ahead. And the only thing.
We talked about this with Wendell, and what is really important now, we have other stakeholders such as Madden and Camp Stories. Is we need an operational definition of how this is measured, so everyone knows what we're trying to achieve, so we can target that as the strategy and pivot if we're not hitting it or understand where we are. So we need the operational definition of what's being measured. One comment that I've made is, I understand sales tax is a piece of that, but sales tax is not just tourists, it's also our locals. So that being in mind, what's the operational definition?
One thing to say though about that little argument right there is, if the local spend is up, that means that the locals.
That's, I'm not saying to leave it out, I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm
define what it
just
is.
saying, the one thing I would say is if local tax spend is up, that means that the guides are making more money, but the guys in the restaurant are, they're going out to the bar afterwards, all the good things are happening.
Go ahead, Howard.
It's good to know.
Quite honestly, I'd like to see the taxes that we benefit from be the measurements, because it's right there. The lodging tax is a little difficult because it's a dynamic price point. The restaurant tax, however, is definitely the anchor. And since we collect a TRCCA tax, I say that's what we attest to the 6% growth rate.
I would even limit that and suggest that if we drill that down just to the restaurant tax, there seems to be resistance in this county to break things down by excuse me?
Like sectors of.
Well, TRCCA has various components. Jason collects 18.78% on his Jeeps per day. I collect a very slightly smaller amount, so they can break that into a different category. And then there's restaurants. I feel like if we just drill down and focus on restaurants, it's more esoteric. We gotta like cut out the noise so that we can really listen to the numbers and not get distracted by what's going on. I propose that if we can look at the city resort tax, I have been paying this for as long as we've been in business, this is a monthly payment that we pay to the city of Moab. It's measurable, it's concrete, and we contribute from our business, but we're not the only ones. Jason could probably address that well better than I can. But then there's also a rural hospital tax. It's like a healthcare 0.5% sales tax. Now I realize these aren't the biggest taxes we collect, but they're measurable and we can break them down by little segments and say, hey, how are we doing with these 3 taxes? Are we up? Are we down? Are we sideways? And we don't have to mess with, as you said, the TRT, you know, based on what the hotel price is or this. We want to look at what locals are spending and what tourist is bringing in, just throwing these ideas out there to keep it as simple as possible and measurable.
The thing I liked about those that you just picked is all 3 of those are direct, right? So we collect it, it goes directly in and it's countable, as opposed to our base sales tax, which comes in and there's a formula that's attached to it. So I think that all 3 of these are just basically what you see is what you get.
We send them to the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Utah records it. They, you know, it's very measurable.
So
I don't know. Is that too weird and nerdy? Jason,
No,
go
I,
ahead.
I would agree 100% with that, 'cause I was thinking about that today, looking at this and especially like the rural healthcare, you know, tax and stuff. It's a 0.5% tax that's charged on prepared food. So it's, and t-shirts, you know, stuff like that. So it's not, you're cutting out your city market groceries that locals are buying, you know, things like that. It's a tax that's directed to tourists and tourist related products that they're buying. So I think that's a good metric to have basing off of.
Does anybody want to make a motion or do you want to chat about these things a lot more?
I move that we use that, whatever we call this tax, sorry.
The city resort tax?
City resort tax as an indicator of growth.
Can we also include restaurant tax and rural, the 0.5%
Yes,
rural tax in your
all 3
proposal?
those taxes as an indicator of growth.
Ashley has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Right. Any further discussion?
Just a question. We're very focused on the 6% growth. The strategy committee said that that was based on 3 things, and I just want to set the expectation now for at the end of the year, what we're measuring, and if all of these taxes need to grow by 6%, or if what the strategy committee said originally. I know I'm very appreciative of Madden also being very clued into the 6% growth metric, and we as a team are focused on this and hitting this, and we need that clarity.
I think that what you don't mind me asking?
Please,
I think what you're
please.
looking at is gonna be measured off of the Kempsey Gardner, right? Direct visitor spend, which is going to be, and I think that's the reason that we're looking for something that's a little bit more real time.
Okay.
Because that direct visitor spend that comes from Kempsey Gardner is 5 to 6 months out, right? So it's past, you know, we won't see those numbers until June or July of, you know, the following year. So it would be nice to have something that you can look and track, you know, monthly, right? Well, even though these are, you know, two months in post, right? This is the closest real-time data I think that you're gonna find.
So,
yeah.
well, I have a clarifying question. So then the 6% growth will go to, we want to see 6% growth in direct visitor spending as measured by the Kempsey Gardner Institute, is what you're saying?
I mean, that's what I would use as the standard right there.
Okay.
It's what the
We just
governor
to
uses.
be clear, we really want to hit our mark, and to
Yeah.
do that, we have to know
We
how
gotta know
we
measure, yeah.
measure.
Yeah, and we
We're
have
gonna
like
put
this
emphasis
TRT.
towards those things to
Mhm.
make sure that we hit it, and so we don't actually have such clarity on it, and that's why.
And I believe
Yeah.
that that's the reason that this was put on the agenda at the request for clarification. I'm trying to drill down to keep that simple.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably oversimplifying things, but what I want people to do is to be able to, you know, look at Transparency Utah and be able to say, oh, look at this tax, this tax, this tax. We don't always want to have an analysis by the Congressional Budget Office to get the answer that we want. So if we can focus on those 3 taxes and look at the changes in those taxes, the delay is only 2 months. As
Well-
opposed to,
And the motion includes the word use those as an indicator.
there you go.
So
Okay.
it's just giving you a heads up because it comes earlier than the Kempsey Gardner data.
So maybe
No.
separate from the motion, we still would like that clarity so that we can hit our mark. We want to
Well-
be super clear of what was being measured.
We can make decisions.
And what is expected of our department.
We don't wanna wait and say, oh, we should have made these decisions 4 months ago.
If we're measuring the city resort tax, if we're measuring the restaurant tax, we have multiple years of historic data with that. It was suggested to me, I am not as familiar with the rural hospital and the healthcare 0.5% sales tax. That was just a suggestion from someone who knows a lot more about this than I do. Happy to include it or not include it. I just want the Moab Office of Tourism to be able to simplify their life and know how they're doing well. That's the whole goal. And if we complicate it with TRT, pricing of hotels goes up, goes down, beds and heads changes, it's too much in flux. We gotta find something that's measurable easily. And if we can do a 10-year analysis of what those taxes have been, up, down, all around, it should be a reasonable graph that we can request. Is
which
Stephen,
do
is
you
that,
want them to
Stephen,
be
is
held
that Mr.
responsible
Bowles?
for?
Mr. Bowles, is that something that you can speak to, please?
We have all that data right now,
Okay,
but I will just make a comment on making that change, analysis. You have to also consider whether it's just year over year, or it's a 12-month moving total over 3 years to smooth out some of the anomalies. I think you guys are, well, so I agree with you just picking 3 metrics. But then the next question is, it's gonna be year over year. So we'll have some seasonality.
I think we need to look month by month and year over year to analyze both so that we can see in the short term, is this just a blip? Or is this a long-term trend? And if we wait for a year's worth of data to make a decision, then Moab Office of Tourism can't respond. But if we jerk around every month, you know, in our analysis, we combine March and April every year. That is the same month of analysis because it depends when Jeep Safari is. So it's just, I think we need to use a couple of those metrics and we can, in the executive committee, help you with a little more of that direction. But I love that you already have those numbers. Let's keep it simple.
So keep yours simple, but I can do any data requests if you want.
Would love it. See, we got the guy. He's here. Does anybody have some expertise that they want to add before we vote on this?
Just wanted to,
Answer your question.
I think our office would like to be very, very clear on what growth they're measuring at the end of 2025. We hear that we need to grow by 6%, and it's 6% of what? What's in front of you is sales tax and TRT. That was given to us by the strategy committee. And so this charts TRT for the last 2 years and the 3 months of this year. And our question is, do we need to grow TRT by 6% at the end of 2025? Do we need to grow sales tax by 6% of 2025? That's how we're operating right now. This is what we're planning to share with Madden so that they can start to hit their mark. But we do want that, we do want that clear.
Telling them not to measure those things and use these other measurements.
This is the request that I understood that the Moab Office of Tourism put an agenda item on to ask for this clarification. I'm trying to give them what they're asking for
Okay, so
by simplifying things.
It's not, the motion needs to be changed then. It's not an indicator. These 3 taxes are the metrics by which the growth will be measured. That's what you're really asking.
Great. If you want to
Okay.
make a modified motion, Ashley, I'm happy to entertain that.
Yeah, modifying the motion.
Okay.
You will use the 3 taxes.
Rural city,
City
rural-
resort tax, restaurant tax, and rural hospital tax to determine.
Your
our
success.
growth. Would use those as our metric for growth. Which will be the goal of the staff. Of the department.
Agreed. Howard, can you second? Okay, awesome. I call for a vote. All those in favor of using those 3 tax matrix for the Moab Office of Tourism to be able to measure their success, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Yay, thanks, Rebecca. That's unanimous.
Nick, was that you that put this graph up right here?
Yes,
Okay, that's you.
Do you want me to-
No, I'm just trying to figure out who put the graph up.
you mean on the screen?
And you're taking
created
number
it?
7, right?
Yeah. The spreadsheet, I worked with Steve. Yeah.
Okay.
Steve. Yeah, I hope so. 6.
Okay, we are on item number 7.
Sorry.
Reviewing Moab Office of Tourism year-to-date spend and projections. Wendell, you are gonna take over on this one. You are the.
This was just basically, we wanted to see how we're tracking and particularly with creative services, since the branding agency is, the RFP's out. It's a big chunk of change that will potentially won't all be spent in this year. So it kind of feeds into some of the other financial documents later, so we might want to just. This is more for review and we can look at it a little bit later when we go through the other ones.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
So when we were doing the agenda, we were raising our hand and saying, where we started sitting down to do this budget to where we are, it's been a very different path. So first of all, with a budget that was already very high, and to have big amount added to it, we're coming into the half year with a high amount in front of us that we should think about spending. So with 6 months to go, we wanted to leave the baseline. Number two, say, let's start thinking about where we could go from here. Now, one thing that's helped a lot is in the last 48 hours, we just solved possibly 2.4 million of that problem. But that's still with a RFP that had a high creative piece and some other things. And the challenge now with the reserves at the end of the year, we just want to make sure we're putting it out there. Wendell asked, he said, with August coming, what do you need approved right away? Well, I think we just approved what we need right away. The other couple things that we might want to sign up for in the next couple months are just a few small conferences and maybe travel week with Utah Office of Tourism in London, if they can get us in. We are in a waiting list with the MTAB team to possibly partner on a booth at the travel week in UK in November, but I don't know that we'll even get in. That would probably be the only thing before August that would be a big spend. After August, and what we've done is we've trimmed down, we've pulled back on a lot of data tools, working with Madden right away. And with our strategy, we purposely have let our contract run out on a geofence. So we said, let's see what we can do getting up the ramp. Then if we need a geofence, let's go get one, but let's work with Madden to understand if we need that. Let's understand what other data tools we might need, but we might not need to. There's other things that could be done that were figured in thinking about the budget last August. And that was, do we want to do some kind of a study? Do we want to hire like a Headwaters, a Longview, or an Oxford to do a sales tax leakage? Or what a lot of other DMOs are saying is we get the macro data, but we don't know any of the behavior or who's here. So those are things that you guys can all think about. There's also uplifts with the PR team. There's the fair, other events. There's things that we should go make a plan. But we would like you guys to start thinking about that so that we either understand what we're going to pull back with the county if it's eligible, or if we have to spend it, but we have qualified to spend with the TRT numbers from August through December. So that was the reason for the discussion.
Awesome. So, it does not sound like there's anything that the Moab Office of Tourism needs us to address prior to our next August meeting. Because there's
The only thing that will happen is we go to sign up for a conference, we're gonna be asked, does MTAB know about this?
and we do not.
No, but I mean, like, what I just said, the travel week, or the
London travel.
You just
travel
told us
week,
about
or
it.
the,
You just told us.
those small. conferences.
If you, just if I may, Chair, if we need an emergency meeting with a quorum to do some things, we can call one. We don't have to do this. I've seen this happen in the past where the July break happens and previous director needed a decision by the board for certain advertising, usually the grant advertising. And we met in addition to our regular scheduled board meeting, just a one agenda item. It took 5 minutes.
Okay. So is there anything that we need to vote on at
No.
this point for item number 7? Go ahead.
I know when we did our budget, and this is, being a little. We put money in to do the McBathrooms.
Yes.
It has never actually gone through, as far as I know, the
It never made it to a line item on the budget.
But the county has been getting some bids, or at least one. That is money we could spend. If we had money to spend, we could spend it on the Moab Information Center. It's a county building and it's a information center. That is legal
And totally separate. Yes.
and totally set, yeah. But I don't know why it never got through. I don't know what's going on. The last I talked to Sean with the county maintenance, they had asked him to see about, you know, what they wanted. He had the jobs. Yeah, actually, the one guy that did the quote or the bid, they had him do up a whole proposal for it, but then nothing has ever come up.
One of the 200,000 that was budgeted.
Mhm.
And it's my
And
understanding
the
that,
proposal that the guy did comes under that.
is my understanding that that mitigation money was they did not listen to the recommendation of our board.
Right.
They made other decisions, and so moving forward, we will try to, Wendell has
And
come up
then-
with some
well, then
fabulous
we
forms
actually-
for us to try to.
Yeah, we actually came back and asked them to do it again. I remember we did it again.
That would be an example of the previous commission disregarding the Moab
Right.
MTAB
So I was
board at
just
the
wondering-
time.
Do you know anything about it or anything's going on with it or?
Well, just present it to the commissioners and get approval. And this is a good reason, if we start hitting that cap of our surplus and TRT funds, this would be a great opportunity.
I'll look
Because
into
I'll tell you right
Sharon,
now,
I'll look
but
into it, Sharon.
The women's bathroom, the hand dryer's not working. Sean doesn't wanna order new ones if we're gonna be redoing the whole bathroom. So right now, we have no hand dryers in the women's bathroom. For the first day and a half, I put a thing out there with some paper towels and we went through 8 rolls of paper towels in less than a day and a half. I took them out. I can't afford that.
And this is actually not an item I can
Yeah.
vote on, but I'm in accord with you that there's an issue there where.
I was just wondering if that was some of this excess money, if we had it, if that could go towards that.
I don't know if there is excess money anywhere in the county. This is one of those things that we've asked for all of the help reporting which buckets are where and what are the restrictions on them. But I promise there are a huge amount of effort has been going into
Sure,
trying
I'll look into
to identify that. Thank you. Go ahead, before we move on, go ahead.
Use the big bathroom.
I would love to hear from Mick.
Wendell, we had talked about, it's very normal for DMO boards to get regular reporting on expenses. I think that's what this spreadsheet is. If this is something that the board would like to see.
Yes, please.
That every month, we're happy to include it. The last part has what's budgeted, 4.4 million versus 500,000. So many boards weigh in on how expenses are being made throughout the year and help inform their decisions. That's sort of kind of why we're bringing this up. Then I also wanted to say, was there anything in this attachment that you wanted to point out? Based on, because I wasn't really following.
This attachment is, this thing has come through 2 iterations of code, so there's some stuff that's misplaced. I think we'll rebuff it with Stephen. Stephen was going to point out that that was not our issue, that was the accounting side issue, but the bottom line is that we only spent a small amount. For instance, our salary, we're down a guy again, so that money, and we need to watch this so that we don't get to November, Thanksgiving, and everyone's like, oh my God. Based on what the commission has been pointing out, get on the spend, so we're saying that was 6 months to go.
So that was the reason for the $1 million addition in the budget, so that we were thinking ahead.
Is the actual through May? What is that?
It's not through May, not everything through May is in there, that's what.
It takes a while to process all of the invoices, so you get company.
So we just need, if we're gonna use this tool, we need a date that says.
You're good right now, though, you get the ballpark idea that there's a huge percent that, but you just solved 2.4 million problems.
But the budget you're showing us is the annual budget and the actual is just year to date, right?
Right.
And so, we can talk offline about some different techniques, so it's easier for us to see the challenges.
But
Matt-
guess what?
and
It's
Matt will
taken
give-
us a really long time to get this, and so I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to all that are helping, because Howard has been religiously asking for this for 2 years. So we're getting on the right road.
Great
So
job.
I want to
Great
focus on the positive here.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to item number 8. revising the, BTAB, I think that's an Moab, MTAB bylaws to reflect HB 456, including board representation to take effect July 1st. This is a very, complicated, bill as far as diving into how to do it because of its start dates, its effective dates. I have asked Brian, who was at the state and really involved in this, if he would once again take over and line this out. Are you still okay lining this out for us, Brian, and taking the lead about how
Yeah, I don't mind.
HB 456 is
Well, I
affecting
mean, I
this?
think that. I think that we just, as far as HP 456 and how it's gonna affect everything, I think that the commission is working on that right now. I don't think that we're able to really make any kind of firm answers until we know how much is still sitting in the pot. We're still kind of going through some of the line items and finding out where, because there was some money that was put into GCAP budget. And actually, under the law, you're only allowed to have one reserve TRT fund. So we had TRT sitting inside of two funds at that point. So we're trying to find out what that amount is, get that amount back inside of it. And so we really don't know where we're sitting with that. And
So my understanding is that we need to rewrite our bylaws for the MTAB.
are you talking?
I'm talking item number 8.
Okay, so you're talking about.
Item
yeah,
number 8, we're gonna,
Jason.
Oh, okay, yeah, so we're talking
gonna-
about, yeah, give me 1 second. So I presented that on last month when we had it here.
right,
And,
and we have. that-
as I went through it, I didn't see anywhere inside of that law.
This
that it-
presentation.
Yeah, I did a presentation on it. It's not included in here, but
Oh,
I'm just pulling up mine real quick that I had
From the workshop.
from the workshop. And one of the things is that we have to add in, it changed the makeup of this board right here. And so there has to be one city member that's included in this board. I actually asked Stephen here to come as well. And when I read through that, I didn't see anywhere. I also got that letter from Joette, saying that she would wanted someone to be appointed for the July 1st meeting, but we don't have a meeting July 1st, so I don't know how that's
Well, affected.
effective July 1st. Okay. But yeah, when I looked at that bill, I didn't see anywhere that it said that it had to be a voting member. I'm totally good with working with the city and, I think that would be a great thing to have the city be a voting member, that's one of the things that I think we're trying to work on, how we can kind of keep things going between the two of us, work on those relationships. I mean, we just approved the golf course, under that EDAB grant that just came through. And I think this would be a good thing for you guys to consider is adding the chamber on, as a voting member.
And
Oh, I'm sorry, not the chamber, but the city. Yeah.
so at this Raptor State Park, Joette approached and said, hey, I would really like Jason to be a voting member. And I'm like, great, I just gotta look into the language. I couldn't find any language that specifically said that. So Stephen, if you could help us with some guidance.
Sure, just some background. So we're under Utah Code annotated 17-31-8. And then we're on subsection 3. And then we're looking at B and C, which is the new language that's added on to it. And this is under the bill HB 456, and will become effective here shortly. And the language just says a tourism tax advisory board may add additional members to the board, including a board representative who represents the interests of municipalities and county. When they use the particular language, who represents the interests of the municipalities, I read that as being somebody appointed by the city, not just somebody living in the city limits. And then it also states, down below, if it generates 50% or more of the county's revenue generated by the imposition of a tax described in section 1A, Roman numeral I, within the municipality, in the county, the tax advisory board for that county shall include a board member to represent the interests of the municipality. So again, it's representing the interests of the municipality. So that's more specific than just a resident of that city limits. It's silent as to requirement for a voting member or not. I think that it makes good sense to consider it being a voting position. We currently have that position here, but there isn't specific language that mandates that is done. But it does require there to be a formal individual that will represent the interests of the municipality on the board. So.
Okay, Howard.
If it's all right, may I offer a historical perspective of
You
the
bet.
city position?
1 minute, you bet.
Okay, a number of years when I was chair this board, I saw just how much Moab City generates to this county board's fund, and I recommended as a chair that we have a representative sit on this advisory board as a non-member, just a liaison adjunct, because I saw the value that was delivered. First, it was Rebecca Davidson. Then it was David Everett. Then it was Kaylin Jones, and most recently it's been Jason. So I would like to say that perhaps this travel advisory board has kind of led the way with the state and actually had this position already in place, if not in a voting position. And I strongly do recommend that that position becomes a voting position. I would even make a motion.
Okay, so just to get drill down into some of the specifics here, happy to entertain that. I think,
How does it work with an even board though?
right, this creates a schism. Because Jason brings so much to this board as a human because of his business background, but he would be representing the city's interest and all of that, and having a vote could be a good pathway into that. You know, I'm hearing all of this back and forth, and I know that the county and the city are actually trying to figure out ways to work well together. And if Brian, if you're entertaining this and you think that this is something, ultimately we can make a recommendation, but it's going to be the commission that's going to be able to approve or not approve these kinds of things. Stephen, can you weigh in on this? Because everything that I've read in the recommendations from the state has said you do not have equal voting members. We don't want to have 8 voting members, period.
So you can, there's nothing that prohibits you in law from having an even number of board members. Most places, I mean, everywhere from the Supreme Court to commissions to the council, pick an odd number because naturally that has a majority ability to break at some point. Does it always guarantee that there's a majority on one side or the other? No, but the trend is normally to have an odd number board. That's not to say that it's impossible to have the other one, but it could create, it can create hiccups if you have an even number.
Does the state
How often
statute
have we
says,
really been like,
what's that?
how often do we have votes that would be, neck and neck votes? Here on our board?
He wants to know how often we have neck and neck votes.
Historic, I mean, since I've been on the board, not.
Tell me-
I wouldn't think that it would work
And
to have.
It has to be an odd number. It has to be the
The state
Supreme
says
Court, the
5.
state, yeah, the state.
The state statute says 5, and then our bylaw states, so
Says
7. And then of those, there has to be a certain percentage of, TRTCA, TRT, museums. And yeah, I think.
Has everybody read this, what the requirements are for our membership? It doesn't match our current bylaws of what the state passed. So what we have to do is make our composition match what the state is mandating. So with that, we have to have a certain amount of people that collect TRT, TRCCA.
So can we just add one more person?
I think that the structure of what we want to do is go down a vote. And I think that what we need to do, if we look, Rebecca represents